Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit good. Just not. Oh, I'll not shake my. Not good. I'm just gonna read my Reddit R movies review. I believe it's uh, the most controversial quote. If you sort by controversial, it should be at the top. I could watch Fury Road on an endless loop and die happy. It's true. Furiosa fucking sucked. The story has no momentum or weight. It's constantly retracing steps from the previous film. There is noticeable CG in every single shot. The sets are fake. The cars are fake. The hair is fake. Even the fucking dogs are fake. Anya was completely underutilized, and I was shocked when they included a forced romance. This all felt so tacky and so lazy. 5 out of 10. That's how I feel. Um, every people like what they like. If you enjoyed a film at the cinema, I'm super happy for you. Please keep supporting theaters. Um, I also genuinely want to hear the merits of what people enjoy about this movie. I can't believe how bad that was. From the get go, from the first shot, I knew we were in trouble. A, it's it's this bright green. It's two kids in a bright green forest. And they're picking a peach, and from off screen I hear Furiosa, and I'm automatically like, okay, I don't know if anyone else thought this, but I thought Imperator Furiosa was like a title that was earned through her work with the Morton Joe. I did not expect that to be like her birth name. Like her name is, oh, this is we live in a beautiful place of abundance with all the greenery and water and peaches and like people can people want for nothing in this place. Little baby, Furiosa. It just doesn't feel. I don't know. I mean, small thing, but I just thought that was not. I thought that was silly. Um, I this movie kept taking away mystique from the character of Furiosa, which in my mind is the opposite of what a prequel should do. For instance, like when how she covers her face with oil. I thought or whatever that shit is. Um, car people will know. They'll be like, dude, that's crud, not oil. I don't care. You know what I mean? The black stuff. I in this movie, it's like, oh no, she just learned that from a boy. She learned that from this boy who. When I saw him in this movie, I couldn't believe that's what we're doing. Like, what? Why do we need a surrogate Mad Max in a movie that is just all about not it's about Furiosa, right? And we just we already love Mad Max. We already love Max. We don't need a Kmart version of Max. The opening bike chase, I think, is probably my favorite sequence in the movie. Like the cat and mouse between these three raiders and the mother, who I gotta find out who the actor is. I think she's very striking and gave a great performance. But quickly after their plan falls apart, well, actually, no, I hate that fucking CG dog. Like, having a dog in your movie is such an easy win for me. Like, it's just everyone lights up when they see a dog. Why take that away? And just the dogs aren't doing anything crazy. They're just walking. They're walking down a hall towards a camera. You can make. I work with dogs. You can make a dog do that easy. I have 2 tripod dogs on my street. They're out there. Plenty of dogs with 3 legs. Attach a weird thing to it, make them walk forward. But no, this movie at every step of the way was incredibly lazy. Where the camera was placed, where how often CG and green screen was used. Just small things like when Chris Hemsworth, when we first see his fleet of bikes, I think it's pretty early. When we first see his fleet of bikes, there's just way too many of them. There's like 100 or two. There's like 200 or 300 bikes on screen, and you just, even though it's the camera's far away, you can't see. Oh, it looks okay, but because it's that many, unlike any of the other Mad Max films that had like a set amount because they actually drove those bikes out there, your brain is automatically saying this is fake. This is fake. And the whole movie, because of the choices that were made, you were constantly thinking, well, they didn't build a waterfall, that's fake. They didn't make a little girl dangle from a chain over a truck, that's fake. She's holding on to a pipe, that's fake. The war boy, when he ropes down the I think you should leave thing, he does the spikes. It's just like it all looks fake. It all looks fake because it couldn't possibly have been made. Unlike the previous Mad Max films, where you bring out these rigs into the desert and you get the shot. But this movie is constantly telling your brain to be like, no, none of this happened. None of this was really. I would love to see the behind the scenes footage of this movie because there's just always so many digital extras on screen. It feels like a Madden audience or like a Gran Turismo people clapping, on sidelines type situation because it just there's always too many people on screen. To get back to starting with the green place, and it being a place of abundance, I get how that is important for Furiosa's story. We've obviously been told that place existed in Fury Road. Um, but I think one of my other problems with this movie is it really undercuts the severity of the wasteland. Like, for instance, not in this movie we have two green places with a whole bunch of water. Bullets in this movie aren't scarce at all. I know there's a place called the Bullet Farm. I know, but just everyone has a bunch of guns. Like at one point there's like a flying. I think it's like one of the paragliding type situations. They're just shooting like 10 different guns. When they're putting bullets into the tanker, it looks like just bullets are just spilling on it everywhere. And the reason I have an issue with that is because in the Road Warrior, when Max gets that shotgun with like two bullets, and one of them doesn't work, you feel the weight of that shotgun for the whole movie. You feel that bullet because it's so rare. And similarly, I just won't say that word ever again. And likewise, in Fury Road, when Charlize punches that skull and gets that pistol and drags that pistol close to Tom Hardy's head and that shot goes off. It just, you hear the ring of it, the sound design, everything about that bullet is so important. And it just, or when they're going in the rig and they're in the war rig and Zoe Kravitz's character, I'm blanking on the actual, her name, but Zoe Kravitz is going through how much ammo they have left, and it's a severe situation. They don't got much. They got a flare, and they got this little pistol, because this is not a world of abundance. This is not a world where bullets are around anymore. But again, a lot of these are nitpicks, but I just, it's. Can we talk about Dementis? Let's talk about Dementis, because I keep hearing praise for Chris Hemsworth's performance. One of my favorite things of the movie is his white cape and the little bear on a chain, that backpack. I think that's a great costume. I like how it evolves with the story. But I couldn't get over how his voice sounds very similar to Chris Hemsworth, but just with his nose pitched like this. Double the grab! It just feels like someone with their nose pitched for so much of the movie, and I know his nose is being pitched because it's a fake nose. And the fake nose wouldn't bother me if it didn't sound so much like his double the grab. It feels like a nasally weird um, conflict with the makeup and less of a performance choice. I do. I think probably the parts that worked the most for me were some of the comedy moments with that character. I think he was genuinely funny. Um, I I didn't expect this movie to focus. I wish in the first hour that we spent with that kid, which is a long time to spend with a kid in any movie, much less a Mad Max movie. But I really don't think this movie did a good job of creating a connection with Anya Taylor Joy and Dementis to make the overall revenge of it all feel cathartic. When he says to her at the end, like, little D, or whatever he calls her, I didn't just, I feel like the movie didn't establish their relationship enough. Not for me anyway. And I guess, I was hoping just for an original story with Furiosa. I couldn't believe how often we were just robbing the grave of Fury Road. Just constant, like just seeing a Morton Joe and all his cabinet in like the exact same clothes with the exact same music. It just, why can't we tell an original story? What? And also, what did this? I feel like this took away from my previous understanding of a Morton Joe and Furiosa's relationship, because in this movie, in Furiosa, he's pretty reasonable, and also, for like a scumbag, he sees this little kid and he's like, we'll wait till you're older before I make you one of my wives. I mean, look, this is a fucking horrible post-apocalyptic murderous Rampageville world. That's a pretty good guy who has like, what, I'll wait till you're of age before I make you my enslaved wife. And I just I just want to talk about. I'm gonna bounce. I know I'm bouncing back everywhere over this, but that the beginning of the once Furiosa's mother is captured and she's tied up and there's a flame underneath her, and Furiosa was watching her be killed. The way the shot is framed. I'm not sure if anyone else thought this, but the way the shot is framed, there's like a man with big horns in front of her, and it looks like he's like poking or prodding her, like in her nether regions. That was where my brain went. I watch a lot of horror movies. I don't know if anyone else thought this, but not only that happened, or that looked like it was happening, even though I don't believe it was. As like later on, he moves and it doesn't look like she's been cut or whatever. But that's what it looked like to me. And then there was another sequence when we see the wives and they give birth to like a second, like a gross mutilated child. That's really, really heavy. And then there's another scene where Anya Taylor Joy as a kid is with Rictus, the big son, and Rictus, like, I think he cuts off her chastity belts to emphasize, like, okay, this is potentially going to be an assault scene, which I don't think this movie needs that. I don't think these movies need that heaviness, that grossness. That I think that we don't have to have our lead character under the threat of sexual assault for this to be horrifying. There's plenty of else horrible about this universe and world. Um, and it bothered me. To hang on that scene a little bit, the fact that she noticed Rictus liked the bells in her hair, so she cut her hair and she made a wig of it as a plot to give her like a extra second to get away from him. How does that make sense? I just how what 4D chess, like, I mean, wouldn't just Rick just be like whoa whoa and get her, like, I just it just to have that be her escape plan. It didn't make sense to me. I know I'm jumping around, but after she escapes, she's hiding on a pipe. Another CG you know, huge fall down that could never be real, and it's just not threatening at all. Um, she eventually earns the gloves of that other person that couldn't get the truck. Oh, I hated that scene with the fucking truck, because again, yeah, just like no one is gonna dangle that truck like that and have a little girl go on it. Just make it look more real. Make it more not that, not all fake, or just don't have that scene if that's what you're gonna do with it. But after she earns her gloves, she gets to be this in this new role. I forget what the name of that role is, but then we see her wig on a branch, and time grows, and we see the first shot of Anya Taylor Joy's Furiosa in that same outfit with like dirt on her face and the gloves and like a kind of like a Blade Runner 2049 hood, or neck. What am I? Collar. Thank you, collar. And I just thanked myself. And I just couldn't believe how anticlimactic a reveal that was for our leading character, who never gets a title card, by the way. That still fucking bothers me. We never get to see Furiosa. This movie is called One, the Pull of Inaccessibility to me. But we just see her she's just working. And compare that to Mad Max Fury Road, which I think is fair because this movie is constantly retracing those steps of Mad Max Fury Road. But compare that to how important the reveal of Tom Hardy's Max was. We first see him in a big bushy beard. Then, as he's being chased, he gets caught with a rubber mask. Then, as he's getting tattooed under capture, he has a cloth, but he's like bound around his mouth. He's gagged. Then after that, he's put in a dog mask, like a dog. Why am I blanking on that word? What are those called? All my dogs I work with are so sweet. They never have one of those things. Muzzle. He's like muzzled. And when he and Charlize Theron's Furiosa finally they say, hey, we got to work together. Let's do this. He gives her the file. He's on the top of the war rig, and he's just trying to get that off. And then eventually, the music crescendos. He takes it off. Boom! That's our Max, and it's fucking awesome. This movie is just like, there she is. She's working. She's working. So, you already like her, so why would you need a better intro for her? I've only seen this movie once, so I'm just trying to think about all my other complaints. Let's talk about the Max surrogate in this movie. Who wanted that? Who wanted that? Raise your hand, please. If anyone wanted a guy that looks just like Max and like a jacket just like him, he's kind of like hard and also a little bit kind like Max, where no one in this world is. He's also hot. He's like the only other hot person, and it's just, I'm just watching this movie and I'm like, what? Other than the fact that you couldn't get Tom Hardy and Charlize again because they hated working with you, why am I seeing these characters like this? Because I'm just... There was one moment in the theater where I clapped, and it's when there's an assault on the war rig, which we've seen enough of. I love Mad Max Fury Road, but I've seen enough of this war rig being attacked on all sides and having war boys defend it. But the moment I clapped was when these bikes, I think there's people riding on bikes, and then these like little parachutes go up, and they get off the ground, and they're fighting in the air. It just looked cool. It looked really cool for about 2 seconds. And then you just see the faults in the CG. A lot of CG fire, a lot of just things that scream phony. Visually, I really felt like the camera was never where I wanted it to be. There's a couple scenes in a Morton Joe's compound, in particular when Scrotus is talking. I think his name's Scrotus, the guy with the big forehead. the same actor that played Slick in Fury Road. He's just talking about plans and stuff, and I just can't believe how basic the camera is. It just looks like a kid just holding it up for just a really boring shot. But back to this Warwick scene, I believe that would have been the same fight sequence where we see this really cool, like octopus kite that looks just like a crazy alien. There's a scary black octopus, and that I think that looks pretty good, pretty great. My, I mean, I'd be psyched to see that octopus just on the beach anywhere. It just looks cool as fuck. So that's a thumb up for me. I like that octopus. Um, why was there any? I can't really. I didn't really clock any new music that stuck with me. I clocked a lot of the same soundtrack from Mad Max Fury Road being used, but never the best bits. Um, I really wish we had someone or some moment as cool as the Doof Warrior playing his guitar on top of a crazy, drum vehicle. Like that was just like, why aren't I getting any of that in this movie? It just And, the movie seems fit to remind me of that character twice. He's in this one montage where they say that it's like a. Oh, you blink and you miss it. Because, like, I was just. My brother, I saw the movie with my brother, and after he brought up, oh, remember that, like, that 4-day war? Or that, like, whatever that what was? And I was like, oh, yeah, like, what was that? It was like a blink and you miss it montage that looked like it would have been what I actually would have wanted to see in this story, which is just something like. I don't know, something crazy. Um, I I want to look over some of the top official discussion for Furiosa reviews on Reddit because there's just so much. That's a part of the problem. I keep listening to these reviews. I listen to the Big Picture podcast, and they both said that this was really, 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 really good, but it wasn't great. And I just feel like there's a lot of coping going on. No one could have been more hopeful for this movie than me and excited. Not only did I avoid the trailers. When a trailer played, I cover my eyes and then I press my thumbs on my ears and I like tap them like so I can't get a single word of dialogue out. I did the same thing for it's embarrassing. I embarrassed my friends and family. But I did the same thing for Maxine because I'm excited for that movie and I don't want to know anything about it. Um, so it's just I understand being disappointed, but I don't. It's frustrating seeing people say this is so great, run to the theater, when I think a lot of us know in our hearts like this didn't hit. I mean, I know in my theater, which was about half full on the Thursday opening day, they were full of. my brother asked. Are you sure we're in the right theater? And I looked around, and there's just a bunch of guys that look like me, just like stinky with glasses. And at the end of the movie, when the credits roll, there wasn't a clap. There was just an overall vibe of, and and just to see the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes saying this is 90%. To see the overwhelming response on Reddit saying this is amazing, it just feels like I don't know. I just want to know what you see out of this film. I do want to know because again, let's just look. Top reviews. Hemsworth is so good in this. What a goofy piece of shit. That's the top comment for this movie. I want to agree with you there. Sure. This is the second one. The smile on my face when I saw Mad Max standing next to his interceptor. Fuck off. Who fucking cares? Who cares? He's literally, and again, retreading the same steps from our movie from Fury Road is a constant thing in this movie, and it's just he's like in the same spot, in the same pose, as he was when Mad Max Fury Road starts, when he has the big beard. So is he just chilling in that spot this whole time? Like that's his hood. It just felt like, uh, just like a Member Berries cameo. I don't like South Park, but they made a point with the Member Berries. It just felt like useless. It just that did nothing for me. What's next? I know we have been, and this is the third top comment. I know we have been inundated with IP sequels, prequels, multiverses, etc., and all that comes with it. It feels like many will roll their eyes at some of the stuff that happens in this movie and say they're just checking boxes and doing with that same prequel bullshit. But fuck that. Dot 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 dot. Yeah, there's 4 dots. Ellipses just needs 3. Furiosa does it right, and it shouldn't pay for the sins of all the shitty prequels that came before it. It really enriches Fury Road and the world they both inhabit. I agree to disagree. I keep hearing how great the world building is in this movie. To me, it's just world crumbling. It's just like it makes the world feel less dangerous, less interesting. It makes people like a Morton Joe or the People Eater or Rictus. It's just more of them than I would have needed because I was already satiated with their appearances in Fury Road, and to drag them back 10 years later in the same costumes, and at the same time to say, "Oh, we can't have Charlize reprise her role," because why? I don't know. Well, besides, she wouldn't fucking do it probably. I mean, she probably would if Tom Hardy wasn't there. I mean, I hear that was the general rift between the conflict on set between them, largely caused by Tom. Okay. This is the 5th top comment. I was constantly thinking about Chekhov's arm after she tattooed the star map to the green place. I thought for sure she was going to sever it purposely to ensure it remained hidden and safe. But ripping it off to escape was pretty gnarly too. Right, but we didn't get to see that, which kind of bums me out. That is a gnarly moment. But we really don't. I would have preferred, because we have really so few scenes in my remembering of this movie. We have recollection of this movie. We have so few scenes with actually Anya Taylor-Joy in it. I would have loved to see like 127 hours. I would have wanted to see that, and it also would have tied back to her chewing on that little piece of that oil tube. Which I'm sure it's still alluding to that, but it's off screen, just like that big battle that we got a quick montage of. It's just off screen. It's just worry about later. It's like it's not important. This is more about Dementis's reaction to it, him being blah blah blah. And I just feel like, okay, that's just a pivotal. That is a Chekhov's gun moment. Like, when is she going to lose her arm? And it's just it's off screen. Yeah, whatever. All right. I saw the entire theater lock, and every single time the oil rig was on screen. What do I say to that? No, you didn't. No, they didn't. They fly now? Okay, that's a reference to Star Wars The Force Awakens. And that was the moment that I clapped, and then quickly was like, oh, this feels fake. Bravo to Chris Hemsworth, the standout in this film for me. His performance as Dementis is now my favorite of all his films. The voice when he talks into the mic is music to my ears. To me, it is frustrating that we wait 10 years for a Furiosa movie, and it feels like her character is so sidelined for a villain that we really didn't have a previous relationship with. Like I said, I wish this told an original story, but because this is just so cemented in the movie Fury Road, the world of Fury Road, to see a guy in it that, like, we know is gonna die, just becomes such a big part of this movie, and also like have it mostly be comic relief. That wasn't what I was looking for in this movie. I wanted Furiosa to be a fucking badass and kick ass and like do dope shit. Um, but I feel like I didn't get that. She was. This is the next top comment. 636 upvotes. She was competent and excessively resentful. This. I forgot that was even a line in the movie. Rest in piss. Rest in piss boy. Okay. Okay. What a fucking movie. Also, did anyone else think Josh Hellman looked like Mikey Day in the Beavis and Butthead sketch? Alright, so just what we're getting from like all the top comments in this thread so far, none of them are really. They're kind of just shooting the shit, making jokes. I know that's often what Reddit is like, but when you really love a movie, there's usually like talk about the merits of the film, and a lot of this is just kind of like ba 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 ba. The monologue between Dementis and Furiosa before he died was fantastic. It's called a dialogue, bro. Two people. The war will never end. It just continues. So that ending sequence that they're referring to, when there is who like they're trying to say they're talking about myths and legends, which was a big part of George Miller's last movie that I did not like at all. 1,000 years of, I don't know, maybe it's a 3,000 years of longing. 3,000 years of longing. I almost got it confused with 1,000 Years of Good Prayer, which was a good movie from forever ago. But no, I think it was something like that. It was all about myths and whatever. And I get that that's what the ending is trying to do, is kind of like solidify a myth of Furiosa and Dementis. Who cares to me? Who just tell you? We're in your movie. Tell the myth. Show me the myth. Don't like pontificate about it in the end. Like it could have been this. It could have been this. It could have been this. And I just like it could have been this CG tree growing out of his dick. You know, just like, all right. Thank you for that fable. But you have it in you to make it epic. No. First word. Okay, this is a long. Oh, okay. This is a long review. I want to read this long thing, because it's the top long review, and then I'll get the fuck out of here. I'm so sorry for this whole thing. First word out of cans on this movie was not to expect another Fury Road, and I can definitely see now why they'd want to highlight that. This isn't Fury Road, which purposefully revs its engines at the beginning and then only builds momentum from there. The moments to stop and breathe in that movie happen after long, brutal action sequences where everything is traveling 80 miles per hour. This movie is the opposite. I agree with you there. Seemingly on purpose. There are long sequences of lore and story punctuated by big action set pieces. Where were those? Because I feel like we didn't get many big action set pieces. We got a war rig fight, which we've already fucking seen twice in the last movie. We had, the cat and mouse thing in the beginning that I did like, but it's not a big action set piece, really. We saw Chris Hemsworth's fleet getting attacked by war boys. Lasted like a minute. It didn't last long. I couldn't believe how abruptly this movie ended, because I thought for sure we'd have at least one left, but we didn't. Yeah, okay, sorry. There are long sequences of lore and story punctuated by big action set pieces. The setup takes its time, going an hour without aging up to Anya. And it's all about context, which Fury Road purposefully leaves to the imagination. But the real question is, does this movie rock and fuck and bang in its own way? I think yes. First and foremost, even though it's used more sparingly, the action in this still rocks. I disagree. The first war rig scene when she's hiding under the rig with a bike strapped to the undercarriage was some classic Mad Max shit. I disagree so strongly there because every single shot of that looks so fake. It looks just really, really, really fake. And part of the language of these Mad Max movies over throughout its whole run is that they'll artificially speed up the action so they can do these things practically. Every shot of that looked fake as shit to me. Where the camera was digitally, like, or just there wasn't a camera there. There just wasn't, and you feel that. The first war rig scene when she's hiding under the rig with a bike strapped to the undercarriage was some classic Mad Max shit. I squealed with joy every time someone got crumpled under a tire or a vehicle exploded. I can barely remember. There is also some incredibly impressive dirt bike stunt work in this. I don't remember too much of it. That's one of my favorite sequences in Fury Road, with those dirt bikes are revving over the war rig and they're throwing those like fiery grenades on top. It's just beautiful, beautiful work. Um, the construction set piece with the giant gate locking Jack into Bullet Town went pretty hard. I forgot about that. He's backing up slowly, isn't he? Or like I don't know. It's and she's using a shotgun from like a really far distance. That also frustrated me. Like I said earlier, like usually these bullets have weight, and she's gonna be like sniping people with a sawed-off shotgun. Um, and then the flames that burst through either side of her when she's like this, it's just like that all looks so fake. Or don't does not look fake to you guys? Okay. There is some incredibly the giant gate locking Jack into Bullet Town went pretty hard. The first time we meet Joe and he gets the guy to suicide bomb Dementus was a fantastic scene. I disagree. Just disagree. We already know about the War Boys. We already know about Immortan Joe. We don't need that scene, and it doesn't look that great. It looks fake and not real. Um, I've gone through and filled all my George Miller gaps in the last few months, and maybe the most notable thing about him, other than his clear insanity, is that he does sequels and franchise continuations like no one else. Usually not what you'd expect story-wise, and if it is, he's doing it so much bigger and more ridiculous. Fury Road is like if he made Matrix Revolutions first. Oh my god. This is the top big comment. It's all climactic action and plot lines converging. One of the great things about it is that it throws it all at you. Okay. One of the great things about it is that it throws it. A lot of it, Bo. One of the great things about it is that it throws it all at you so efficiently that you can just sit back and watch the insanity. Furiosa is like going back and doing Matrix and Reloaded. It's adding depth to Fury Road and it makes the journey and the character more interesting. What was added to her character to make her more interesting? We knew she lived in the green place of many mothers and it got fucked up. And we saw in Charlize's amazing performance how much that hurt her. Furiosa always seemed to me like someone who spent years gaining Joe's trust and planning her escape. And that is the broad stroke of this movie. But it's so much more interesting and intricate than that. Where did you see that? um, this is an epic that spans 15 years, and even though this is an epic that spans 15 years, and even though you know where it ends up, there's so much to tell. I couldn't believe it ended in that last shot. By the way, I could not believe it ended with the lookalikes and just going into the war rig. It just felt so like I didn't need that to be the last shot. I know what happens in Fury Road. Stop reminding me of a better movie. It gives more depth to the journey of her and Max trusting each other, knowing that the first person to ever give her a chance and treat her like a person was a Max type. It's a Max type Pokemon. You get to see why the Gastown, Citadel, Bullet Farm. Every time I saw a title card in this movie for a new town or a chapter hitting, I was just like, cool, let's do it. Okay, this chapter's about Homeward, even though it's not. Bullet Farm Alliance is so strong because they all had a common enemy in Dementus. Okay, I just want to read that again. You get to see why the Gastown Citadel Bullet Farm Alliance is so strong because they all had a common enemy in Dementus. You get to see Furiosa's point of view, how men are killing the world. Okay, so you needed to understand why the People Eater and the Judge and a Morton Joe are so connected. You didn't get that gas for bullets, bullets for food. That didn't make sense to you. You needed to really get your feet on the ground. Um, oh my God. You get to see from Furiosa's point of view how men are killing the world. It's a wasteland, bro. Like, people know men killed the world. We get it. Like, duh. We knew that from the first movie. That's what one of the wives says. I'm blanking. I hate them for forgetting their names. I think Shikri. She says, who killed the world?" Chris Hemsworth, by the way, having the time of his life. Both him and Anya give very interesting performances. Anya not showing up until an hour into the movie and then almost nonverbal performance. It's the kind of role that may scare away a less interesting actor because so much of it has to be internal. Dementus is a great foil for Furiosa. Both lost their families to the wasteland. We find that out at the very end. And Dementus chooses to deteriorate the world for it, and Furiosa has hope that she can still make something of it. He lost his children. We did know that earlier because he said it was my kid's Teddy. We didn't know it was his family. Excuse me. He lost his children. She lost her mother. So it's like he lost his future and she lost her past. Hemsworth can't even keep Gastown functional because he can't see past tomorrow. He has nothing left and can only entertain himself day to day. You know, I don't mind this point. Uh, I don't mind this point. I think there's something interesting there. I don't necessarily agree, but I don't mind that point, and I'll move on. This is all in the same review still. Furiosa has nothing after she escapes the wife fault, and the wife fault. It is what it is, but I just like that term. And she still forges a life for herself. I honestly love that the climax of this movie, the prequel to the most furious action movie of the 2010s, is these two angrily sharing philosophy in the desert. I was hooked that whole conversation. It's so hard to hate stupid, charming Hemsworth, but Furiosa strips him of everything: his power, his lieutenants, his cars, and turns him into the living embodiment of a person being crushed by hope and the planet he tried to kill in his grief. I didn't get that from that last confrontation. To me, I didn't ever get a moment of catharsis of Dementus feeling defeated. To me, he really felt like except beside that last shot of his tree dick, he kind of felt like he was, willing to go and on top in the very end. I didn't feel like he was crushed by hope and the planet he tried to kill in his grief. I didn't get that. Also, have to shout out how they represented the cars are religion lore. I loved how it was in quotes. I loved how when she first meets Dementus, he's being explained the torque and horsepower of his carriage cycle by the historian. I did like the historian. I forgot about him. I thought I'm okay with that. I got tattoos. I like historians. I like his vibe, and I liked the conversation he had with young Furiosa about making yourself valuable. That's good post-apocalyptic shit for me. It feels like an almost religious ritual to sit down and learn about engines every day, not to mention the whole war rig building workshop they have. You can feel Miller has so much to show us in this insane post-apocalypse genre he basically invented. I don't know about that, bro. Even after 40 years and 5 movies. Yeah, because aren't there plenty of post-apocalyptic stories? Like, I don't know, like the Time Machine, like Planet of the Apes. I don't know. Complaints. Sure, I've got some. This is such a bigger and more unwieldy movie than Fury Road. The pacing is kind of crazy. I agree with you there. I was bored often. We spent an hour with young Furiosa, but when the Wasteland War starts, it's mostly done in montage. Yeah, it felt like there's a bit of this movie on the cutting room floor. I would agree there. My biggest gripe is probably underutilization of the score, though. The Junkie XXL score, isn't it Junkie XL? I don't know, maybe I gained weight. The Junkie XXL score in Fury Road boosts that movie into hell fucking yeah. That was in quotes. Territory, and I felt this movie really holding the score back, and there was a clear lack of guitar riffs. It felt on purpose, but it seemed like great action scenes could have been further elevated by a harder-hitting score. Overall, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. Oh, I don't see. I've mostly been hearing glowing reviews, so I didn't know he'd end on this. So that is nice. Overall, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. It's not perfect, but I'm so into what Miller is doing in the world that is clearly such a representation of his insane worldview that I was hooked the entire time. And then it said, he ends it with, I guess, it says R reviews by Boner. That's his. I guess this is. I believe this is that guy's personal subreddit where he reviews. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I'll stop there. The next one is, I was wondering why the war rig had truck nuts, but then I got my answer. Brutal. I didn't think it was that brutal. You didn't get to see much of it. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening. If you listened, if only one person finds this video and is like, "Thank you," then that's what I was looking for, that I didn't see online the past few days. I love Mad Max Fury Road. I love this franchise, especially Fury Road and Road Warrior. And one last fucking thing. What? Okay. When Furiosa says at the end of Fury Road, "Remember me," and goes to Morton Joe and hooks his mouth, like, that's a cool, badass line that we know there's context to it, but we don't know everything. I liked having that mystery. To me, this prequel, if it was going to do anything, it would help justify and explain that mystery. But it only confuses it, because she says the same line to Dementus, "Remember me?" And it's just like, oh, that's just her kill line. That's just what she says for everybody. Sorry if you hear my tummy grumbling. I keep eating apples. Like, just apples. I don't know. I think it's making me sick. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for listening, or watching, or anything. Take care. Free Palestine. Boop.